Hey there, this is Anon. I kind of want to select my audience here. I want to give you a chance to go and assess what this channel is going to be about and determine if it's going to be for you. If you're somebody like me who wants to investigate the Abrahamic faiths, or you have a lot of knowledge in Christianity or Islam, then this channel is definitely for you. This is essentially going to be a channel where I react to different proofs for Islam and Christianity, for different arguments for and against it, for perhaps some more slice-of-life content, and to pretty much share my research with anybody who would be interested. I'd also like people who already know the subject to go and give me stuff to research, to enlighten me to new avenues that I potentially haven't considered. If you were just curious what this channel is about, well, you can click off the video right now. I wanted this to serve as mainly an introduction, but for those of you who are curious about my story and why I'm searching for the truth, especially on YouTube, then stay tuned. Great, you're still here, so let's go ahead and get started. I've been featured on two prominent Muslim channels. The first is Daniel Hikikachu's The Muslim Skeptic. The second is The Muslim Lantern. On Daniel Hikikachu's channel, I wanted to join his livestream to comment on the recent debate he had with Inspiring Philosophy, and discuss why I thought he won the debate and some of the errors Inspiring Philosophy made, some of the errors Daniel made, and some suggestions for him in the future, as well as vaguely going over some Christian knowledge.
Because I think the damning point for Inspiring Philosophy is he could not give the same punishment for fornication outside of marriage. He kept on sidestepping it, like, both are immoral, Dan. I was like, yeah, we're asking what you're going to be doing about that, right? Okay, you don't like this is in the same vein as that, so like, what are you going to do about it? They're both immoral. It's like, you're not answering the question.
Right. On the Muslim Lanterns channel, I came in with a completely open mind and tried to find out some arguments that could be used to go and consider Islam further, and some arguments that could be used to debunk Christianity.
Research more into, what you told me and that type of stuff. The next question I have is, I know that there's a hadith. I don't know the exact one. I just remember it generally goes with, Prophet Muhammad. He ends up, like judging a dispute between the Jews, and they ask him to mediate between them. He brings the Torah and he puts it on I believe a pillow, and he says, I believe in you and the one who revealed you. And a lot of Christian apologists try to say, oh, well, he's confirming in the Torah, so that means everything in the Torah is legitimate. What would be your response to that?
Okay, so now I would say a very simple thing there. There's two ways to understand this. First, that this narration is not authentic, which is said by many different scholars. We can just simply say that we don't accept the authenticity of this narration, and therefore, your story does not work anymore. I want to say something very important. Whenever I say that we don't accept the authenticity of these narrations, I can bring you books of people who died over 1,000 years ago who's saying this narration is not authentic. So it's not me today because I didn't like it, or a group of Muslims didn't like it today, so we said we say it's not authentic. But we have a long history of people telling us what is authentic and what is not authentic. And the Christians just newly figured out this information. They think now they know something. So first, this is one way to answer it. Another easy way to answer it, if you want to accept this narration, how do you explain it? We say simply that the Quran addresses the people and uses the term, the Torah and the Injil, for what the Christians and the Jews hold in their hand, even though the same Quran affirms that they're being corrupted. Why does the Quran use the term Torah and Injil? Because they call it the Torah and Injil. So if they call it the Torah and the Injil, how can the Quran refer to it then? What other word the Quran is going to use? Quran will use the same term that they use in order for them to understand it's addressing what they have in their hand. So when the Prophet ﷺ uses the term Torah there, he does not mean that this is the exact Torah that was given in the hand. He means that they call it Torah. So when he says, I believe in you, meaning we believe in the Torah that was revealed to Moses directly by the Creator, we have no issues with that. And the one who revealed you, which is Allah. We believe that Allah revealed the Torah to Musa alayhi salam. We don't have any issues with that. The issue is only when you take one verse and you remove it from the entire context. You cannot take the hadith and remove it from the context of the Quran that says it's corrupted, from the context of the other hadith that says it's corrupted, that says that these people do not have the exact same manuscripts in their hand today. So you cannot play this game. Pick one thing and then pretend that this is the case and ignore everything else,
So somebody who's a bit curious might ask, why are you looking into religions? What's your history with religion? Why the sudden interest in joining all of these YouTube channels and asking these sorts of questions and commenting on these debates? Well, let's get started with who I am. I'm a 22-year-old guy from Texas. I'm currently married, and I'm of Spanish and German origin. I currently attend uni, invest, and do a part-time job in order to go and save money. As a wee little lad, I grew up Roman Catholic, as it was the faith of my parents. Now, of course, I didn't really know any of the doctrine of what I believed in. If you would have asked me about the Holy Spirit or about the doctrine of the Incarnation, I would have been completely blind as to what those terms even meant. At around the age of about 11 or 12, I started getting really into online debating, And when I saw a debate on evolution, I thought it would be a slam dunk for me. I thought it would be very easy to refute evolution because I was raised under the notion that evolution was just a silly concept. Turns out I was very ill-prepared for the debate. In crass words, I got kicked on my behind. Suddenly, I came away thinking that evolution was probably true. When I told my parents, they were not happy, and it eventually led from me apostatizing from the Catholic faith. Throughout my teens, I was a deist. For those of you who are unaware, deism essentially is the belief that there probably is a god, or gods, but we can't really know anything beyond that. Perhaps there's one god, perhaps there's many gods, perhaps he intercedes, perhaps he doesn't, but the one thing is for certain, there is a god. I had that belief even though I believed in evolution because I thought that abiogenesis and something starting from nothing was illogical, didn't make sense according to the rules of the world. My parents kept trying to bring me back to the faith, but I was not having it, especially with my experience with other Christians and my Christian upbringing. At the age of 18, I met my wife, who is from Asia. She is a Roman Catholic herself, and I started to talk to her a little bit about my religious views. I went on and on about how I thought religion was more of a concept that was meant to control people, especially in medieval times when people didn't know better, and how now we're more enlightened, and the only potential use for religion that I thought of was if I wanted to attain political power, perhaps it would have been a good idea for me to simply use a religion like Christianity to spread my influence and to control people better and get them on board with morals that I thought were solid and true. After all, I was constantly told growing up that my want for a traditional family and my want for a more traditional gender role was very quote-unquote Christian of me. Therefore, if I wanted to impose it on the world, it only made rational sense that I appealed to the religion that people saw me as even if I didn't practice it. As they say, curiosity killed the cat. Or more accurately, curiosity drove the cat to seek out religious answers. After being called Christian and Christian over and over again, and my wife repeatedly telling me about how my morals lined up with Christian doctrine, I started to become interested in actually studying the religion. For the first time in my life, really, I decided to give religion a fair shot. Perhaps it wasn't this archaic institution that was unneeded anymore. Maybe there was a bit of truth. Maybe we could know God. And thus started my obsession about determining which religions had nuggets of truth and which didn't, which religions made sense and which were utter hogwash. In time, I eventually narrowed it down to the Abrahamic faiths. After all, I was told throughout my whole life that I quote-unquote acted Christian, and that my morals were very similar to them, and I found that to be true. Judaism was quickly ruled out for me, so it left me between Islam and Christianity. Growing up, I knew nothing about Islam. I barely even knew that the religion existed. I only really knew about the religion through the media. But my first ever debate, which was Muhammad Hijab versus David Wood, had Muhammad Hijab really sending it home, giving a lot of interesting points that I had to consider. And that really sparked my curiosity to dive into the religion further. I started to ask people about their views on Islam. I started to try to seek out Islamic scholars, and I started trying to see if the arguments made sense. At the same time, I started researching Christianity, and I found that only two sects really had any leg to stand on, and that was Sedevacantism and Orthodox Christianity, specifically Eastern Orthodoxy. With the information I had then, I was convinced that Christianity was more likely to be true than Islam. However, I don't just stop there. I fervently believe in inquiring further, always questioning what you know, questioning presuppositions, and trying to find the truth of the world. And that's where we are now. Here on this YouTube channel, we will be dissecting some arguments for and against Christianity, for and against Islam, and trying to find the truth. I ask and implore anybody who's watching this video to help me with giving me potential arguments for and against Christianity, for and against Islam, enlightening me to resources that perhaps I didn't know existed, enlightening me to arguments that perhaps I've never heard before, and allowing me to research into it and perhaps give you back some insight that maybe you haven't heard of. Overall, this comes from my perception that any religion should be able to be logically upheld and be coherent with natural theology. Since God is made in the image of man, what is good for humans must be allowed by God, and what is bad for humans must be forbidden or sinful. I believe that subjectivism has no place in religion. You can tell the truth of a scripture by its inherent logical coherency, its continuity, and its alignment with natural theology. My intended schedule is to release a video about weekly. I hope that everybody enjoys taking this journey with me, and I hope that I'm able to provide useful information for everybody. Now it's time to rock the corny outro catchphrase. This is Anon, and I hope your questions have been answered.